Hey guys, welcome back to Natural Kayak Fishing. Thanks for tuning in. In today's video, as you can see by the title, I'm going to be going over to the best of my ability how to measure a fish for the purpose of logging that fish in a kayak fishing tournament. A lot of new people have entered the scene here recently in Arizona, and I remember what it was like when I first started fishing tournaments. It wasn't really that easy to photograph a fish. It's kind of a skill in itself, and so I thought I'd go over a few tips to hopefully help some people out. Well, let's assume that you've done the difficult part, and that's you've caught a fish in a tournament. You're going to want to whip that catch board out and start getting it ready to photograph the fish. Part of that is you're going to whip your phone out and get the photo camera mode set up and ready to go. Take your time, adjust the identifiers, and then lay that fish on the board. Slide it up against the bump board, make sure the tail is touching the board, start snapping some photos. They should more or less look like this. The mouth is closed, nose is touching the board, and the tail is touching the board as well. An identifier is visible in the photo. And here's the same fish without my hand. You can submit a photo like this as well. Of course, it's always a good idea to make sure that you go over the photo criteria rules of whatever tournament you're fishing in. A lot of organizations these days are aligning on the rules, but still it's always a good idea to know for the tournament that you are specifically submitting your photo to. Of course, we know not all fish are created equal. Some of them like to give us a hard time, flopping all over the place or trying to escape. Don't be afraid to take your time with those fish. Just be patient. They usually come around. Just make sure that their mouth is closed and that their nose is touching that bump board and their tail is lying flat on the board, and that your hand isn't in any place that it shouldn't be. Make sure that identifier is shown and you should be good. Also, when you're fishing at nighttime or early morning, make sure that you get the flash turned on for your camera. Make sure you get a clear shot of that fish. I also like to double check my photos before I release the fish to make sure that everything's all good. And another good idea, especially in some high-level tournaments, is once you're done snapping your photos, put it into the video mode and take a recording of your fish leaving the bump board and returning to the water. That video should look like this. This is the same fish that I showed you the two photos of. Just want to grab it and throw it back into the water. Well, not necessarily throw it, but show that it is returned to the water. Measuring a fish actually seems straightforward, but sometimes it can be kind of difficult, and if it's your first tournament or you're new to fishing tournaments, it could be kind of nerve-wracking, and even with a lot of experience, sometimes there's moments where there is a lot of pressure. This example here, I was fishing the national championship, and I was having some issues in the last 3 minutes, nested my reel, and then happened to pretty much hook up with a fish in the last 2 minutes of the championship. And, you know, it was pretty pressure-packed and nerve-wracking. I knew I had literally a minute to spare, and my buddies were there, and they were calling out how much time I had left. But hopefully with practice and, you know, actually considering what your routine for measuring a fish is going to be, it can all come together for you, and you can get a fish measured properly. And I was able to do that here in this example, and I like to think that all the fish that I had measured up to this point more or less helped me get it done in the nick of time. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this video. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the water.